So the first thing we're going to do is the pivot table. So I've converted the data into an Excel document, saved it under extra credit, open that up. Okay, so we have data. Some of the titles: street address, city, state, postal code, sale, etc. Um, you can see that all the data on the screen. So to make a pivot table, you first have to highlight all the data that you want to include in the table. You go up to the data tab, find pivot table. It guesses the general area of the data that you want to include in the pivot table. Um, just for the sake of matter, if they didn't guess right, you just the same highlighting of the data area, and it will calibrate that. You can put the pivot table on the existing worksheet or a new worksheet, which is probably a more neater thing to do. So I'm gonna add a new worksheet. So the screen comes up, and the pivot table builder, that screen also comes up. So what we're trying to do with the data is realize the average sale price for each state according to the square footage of each house sold in that state. So first criteria that we can add into the row label will be the state. And this, you see, automatically changes the look of the pivot table. So this has made the states appear, and seems like it's in alphabetical order, so that looks good. The next field that we can add to the pivot table is the sale price. Yeah, that's our values tab. So now that we have that, we see that the total, sales of all the houses in each state. We see the numbers, right here. All the data right here. And it's just constantly changing as we're adding. And you see, once if I click out of the pivot table, it disappears. Clicking back into it, it comes right back up. So the last bit of data that we're going to use is building size. I've seen that you can use this in a couple different ways and put it in a couple different tabs, and it represents the graph. And depending on what your presentation would necessarily be on, that would necessitate what field you would put it in. So just for instance, if I put it in the columns label, you see that and the columns are divided by the building sizes, and you still see the state which that building is standing. So with the data looking like this, you could look at houses that are 2,304 feet or similar, just a similar measure of square footage, and you see that the different prices. So then from that standpoint, you can use the data to see the difference in pricing between states as far as the discrepancy between the two. Also, you can see as far as if say you have this home that's 3,300 square feet. I'm sorry, and it's $1,570,000. Then you have a 3,500 square foot house selling for $1.2 million. So we also get to see the difference in the states and how much that square footage is actually affected as far as the price of the houses. If you wanted to put it in a different label, you could put in the row label. This is looks a little neater. Um, Same basic principle. You see the totals of this houses sold together in each state. Also, because we're looking for an average between the prices of the houses, we can press this tab right here, and it brings up this screen where we click average, and then it switches it from average sale. And as you see, you'll see right here, the numbers will change. And of course, now you see the averages. We're gonna tighten this up a little bit. We're gonna format. Click this cell. Go to format cell. I'm gonna switch that to a currency because that's what it's dealing with. So now we see the data is a little neater and it looks a little bit more crisp. We can also feature in Windows 2011 is you can switch the tabs. If you switch the position of the tabs, the labels switch, and this changes the data as far as what is labeled and what specific data you're trying to pay attention or focus on. So we're just gonna switch that back, and that is a basic tutorial of how to use the pivot table for any type of presentation you're trying to do. A few extra things that you could do as far as the look of your table. If you click on the pivot table tab, you see that the different options come up where you can change the color depending on what type of colors you like. Whatever you see. Careful where you have these different options for your totals and subtotals and how your whole layout of your your pivot table. And you see all just different. You see how the different features kind of add a look to it to make it look more official. So do that, and then the last thing I want to do. I'm sorry. I guess I could do this step by step. Right click, and you go to pivot table options. Go few things, just clean up everything. Go to layout, so from A to Z, merge shells in the center. Just bring all the numbers kind of just together in a good way. And yep, sounds good. So you see, now we have a better looking graph now. Let's change the different colors. So that is a pretty good tutorial of the few things you can do to add to your presentation and just make it look a little different than everyone else's.